Why do I do what I do? I very much enjoy being part of the Ukrainian community. My role in a leadership position I have always strived to be the type of leader that involves others in the area of work that I am involved in. When you walk into a home and you're invited, for example, for supper, and you see that someone is in the kitchen working really hard, you offer them help. It just seems natural. With kursy Ukrainoznavstva imena Ivan Franka, I was the treasurer, and we started out with a group of 45 students 4 years ago, and we have expanded to over 150. In that respect, you need to tailor the work to the crowd that you're with. So because it's a bigger crowd, the workflow may change a little bit. The last year of kursy, my daughter had graduated, and we were doing lots of fundraising, and it was a lot of fun, and it needed some sense of leadership, and so we organized a dance and silent auction, and I used my skills from other organizations that I had been involved with and tried to incorporate everyone else to be involved. Sometimes you make mistakes and you learn from your mistakes. I've also taken courses to help me understand, and I've also watched my mentors and how they deal with or how they display leadership in their roles. And so it's something that just comes from the heart. It's something that I love doing. I try my best to make a home and work balance, and sometimes I'm good at it and sometimes I'm not. Sometimes my family is at the brunt of it because I get a little too involved. So I have tried really hard to find that balance. And I very much enjoyed being part of kursy and the teamwork that is involved there. The teachers are beautiful. We've had a lot of fun, we joke around, and it's just something that comes from the heart. It's something that comes from the soul, and it just means a lot to me.
The motto of the Ukrainian Women's Association of Canada is "In education lies our strength." This motto is at the core of my being. Education is about learning and changing behavior. For example, the archives of the Provincial Women's Association are in disarray and incomplete. This prompted 3 of us to attend a conference at the University of Alberta on archiving. We then prepared a workshop on archiving for our members. We co-authored a resolution that we presented at the National Women's Association to make archiving our priority. Thankfully, we have 3 dedicated members in Edmonton that have been working on the National Archives. I have done advocacy work outside of the Ukrainian community. This usually required research into academic journals, attending conferences, writing papers, and meeting with professionals to advance our cause. Whether we were meeting with the Minister of Social Services and Health to secure funding for the Mayfield Early Intervention Program, or meeting with the Premier of Alberta and Minister of Education to request the removal of the non-educable clause from the proposed School Act, or when visiting Ukraine to share our advocacy for people with disability with professionals and parents of children with disability. My belief that everyone deserves to live a meaningful life full of dignity, equality, and respect has propelled me to do all of these things. But mostly I do things for fun, whether getting together to make borscht for Heritage Days or planning a celebration of a milestone, or fulfilling a resolution about our faith and culture. When we interact with each other, we find out what our strengths are and what we care about. We build capacity within our community.
In answer to the question, why I do what I do, the skills and knowledge that I've acquired in the course of my education and professional life, I believe would have been useful in various capacities in organizational life. And in organizational life, I looked for and to exploit certain opportunities that would open up to me. But setting that aside, what's more important, really, to explain what I do, is the upbringing that I had, the powerful influences of my parents that instilled in me interests and values that have followed me throughout my organizational life. To a great extent, they are responsible for my choices and achievements. My father, Dr. John Verhoeven, was a great Ukrainian nationalist. He instilled in me a deep interest in Ukraine as a nation state, the political aspects, the national aspects. He exposed me to literature and the history throughout my upbringing, my growing up years. His pursuit in improving political conditions of Ukraine have become a part of me, of my whole being, and have never left me. For example, I recently returned from a trip to the Basque country in northern Spain. Although what prompted me to go there, i.e. the Guggenheim Museum, in fact, what I was left with is the similarity between the Basque country and Ukraine. The history, their struggle for independence, the similarity of the society with Ukrainian society. I'm referring to their non-aggressive behavior and harmonious behavior, and their inclination to cooperate. But more to the point, their struggle for independence. And that's what resonated with me because of the inert feelings I have for Ukraine and my thoughts with Ukraine. Equally important, actually, was the influence of my mother, Emma Verhoeven. She conveyed to me the cultural aspects of being Ukrainian. As a founder of the Ukrainian Museum of Canada Alberta branch, of which she was its first president in 1944, my interest in this organization was nurtured early in my life and continues to this day. She imbued in me a love of Ukrainian culture, something I've pursued in my organizational life today, not only with the Ukrainian Museum of Canada, but other organizations that deal with cultural aspects of Ukraine that are Ukrainian. I'm attracted to organizations that are involved in cultural affairs, looking for opportunities to take part in leadership roles in ways that advance the purposes of those organizations. I'm always in awe of Ukrainian artifacts. Even today, whether they're produced by Ukrainians in Canada or Ukraine. I'm just totally in awe of the artistry and the skill. I consider Ukrainian embroidery at the top of the scale of that type of craft in Europe. So, these two factors have determined the direction of my community life and explain my participation in organizations dealing with culture and education. The museums, as I've already referred to, the church, UFKI, Ukrainian Foundation for College Education, the Canada-Ukrainian Alliance for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, AQUA, the Alberta Council for Ukrainian Arts, Youth, Ukrainian Women's Associations, and so on and so forth. These two factors have laid the foundation for my work in everything that followed in my adult life. But more to the point that I wish to emphasize, there's this phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. I believe it's true. The community and its organizations are composed of individuals who inspire one to join and commit to the goals of those organizations. Encountering these individuals, they've captured my attention and hold my attention. Their knowledge, their unique skills, and they've compelled me to engage in the work of the organization and attempting to accomplish the missions that those organizations have set. It's the organization and the individuals within it that compel me to engage and commit all the things they offer: stimulation, inspiration, motivation, and development. I owe to these individuals what I am today and attribute my successes to those organizations that opened up opportunities to engage and interact with these individuals. They have instilled in me, the individuals, the importance of retaining my Ukrainian identity and offered ways to develop that sense in my being. Thus, I've come full circle, beginning with the foundations laid by my parents, their interests, nation building and Ukrainian culture, leading to community development and engagement, the influences that came from those organizations and the commitment I made. All of this takes me right back to realizing those values rooted in me by my parents in leadership ways. This is what I am today. Both parental upbringing and organizational life have made my identity as Ukrainian Canadian.
We're asked, why do you do what you do? Perhaps at my age, a better question might be, why did you do what you did? At my age, there's more past tense than future. In retrospect, I had three main areas of emphasis. I wanted to carry on the work my grandparents, parents, and other founding members and past and present dedicated members who contributed and to enhance our parish and Ukrainian community. Secondly, I wanted to contribute positively to Calmer School and bring greater benefits to students and fellow staff members. I taught at Calmer School from 1970 to 2003 and was vice principal from February 1979 until I retired. I served as acting principal from September 1986 to January 1987. Thirdly, I wanted to bring benefit to the town of Calmer, its citizens, and surrounding community. I will begin with my family. The Calmer Parish got its real beginning in 1927 with an organizational meeting at the Fitzowich household when an executive was formed and 12 families and individuals made a financial commitment to begin a new parish. My grandparents, John and Maria, and my father, Max, were founding members. Construction began, and until the church structure was completed enough to hold services, church services and marriages were held in the Fitzowich household. Parish priests would arrive by bus on Saturday evening, overstay at the Fitzowich home, and conduct services on Sunday. The first church was built in 1927-28, our parish hall in 1945, and our current church in 1958-59, with a large amount of volunteer labor. My father, a skilled carpenter, made major contributions to each. In the 2 years it took to build our present church, my father was only home for seeding, spraying, haying, and harvesting. My grandmother and Mother Eva, after 1938 when she married Father, were members of the Lesher Ukrainka Ladies Club established in 1931. Until our hall was built, money was raised by selling dinners at summer picnics on wood stoves taken out of people's homes. Once the hall was built in 1945, my mother and other ladies began to cater for weddings and other functions. It was not uncommon for them to do one or more functions a month. Members prepared pierogies, cabbage rolls, new potatoes in season, pies, salads, etc., and 2 or 3 broilers. This was all donated. By the mid-1950s, the parish ladies and other parishioners had raised enough money through catering and caroling to begin thoughts of building a new church. My grandparents and parents' reach went beyond our parish. My grandparents were members of the Hrushevsky Institute, where their daughter Anne stayed in the 1930s. My parents were members of St. John's Institute, where I stayed 1966 to 70. In 2018, my grandparents and parents received the St. Andrew's Centenary Award posthumously. I received the same award, thankfully not posthumously. My stay at St. John's Institute was very memorable and rewarding, and where we made lifelong friends. Most of us came from small towns and small farms, and the Institute helped us transition to the U of A and the city of Edmonton. We were also introduced into the Edmonton Ukrainian community and the then 4 parishes. I represented the Institute on the U of A's Inter-Residence Council through my 2nd and 3rd year, and served as Students' Union President in my last year, in 1969-70. After graduation, I became a member of St. John's Institute and worked evening bingos and I believe all casinos. I served on the Institute board for 4 years. I joined St. John's Fraternal in 1978. Since then, I worked some evening bingos and all casinos. After retirement, I worked almost all bingos for Fraternal and St. John's Institute. Early in the century, I was asked by Fraternal to be a director representing the Calmer Parish. This became very beneficial to our parish because we now receive the same amount of appropriations, annual appropriations, as the 5 Edmonton parishes. In 2018, I was granted honorary life membership. Being an honorary Life member has its financial benefits. I do not have to pay the $5 annual dues, but the expectations and commitments still remain. I was also involved in the Calmer community. In June of 1977, I asked our mayor why our arena did not have artificial ice. He looked at me and asked, "How would you like to chair the project?" I took a deep breath and said yes. With a great amount of community involvement and contributions of money, labor, and materials by town council, individuals, welders, and other tradesmen, craftsmen, oil companies, and our senior hockey team, we opened the arena in February 1978. In February 1978, we chartered the Kinsman Club of Calmer with myself as charter secretary. I chaired our first project, the Skate-a-thon. In 1982, I was recruited by the Leduc RCMP to establish the Leduc and District Crime Stoppers Board. I began as charter secretary. I guess I was given the charter secretary's roles because people assumed that because I was a teacher, I could write. I also served on the executive of the Calmer District Recreation Board and the Calmer Critter Rink in the 1980s. As acting principal in the fall of 1986, myself and parents started a new PTA. We were granted bingos in the Leduc Rapid Bingo Hall, and 4 years later, a casino. At that time, bingos were financially lucrative. The PTA was also a vehicle for applying for grants. We applied and received several, with our largest one being a $30,000 grant to help pay to buy a new school bus. With the check came a handwritten note signed by the minister who was responsible for that. His name is Gene Zwozdetsky. Throughout my 33 years at Calmer School, I coached a number of teams in various sports and helped fundraise our sports program. With community and parental support, the school in 1994 entered our curling teams, girls, boys, and mixed in Alberta Schools Athletic Association playdowns. By 2002, our teams had won 11 zone golds, 1 provincial silver, and 2 provincial gold medals. Our basketball teams and volleyball teams also won silver medals provincially. Besides my involvement in athletics, I taught half-time with my 2 main courses being Social 30 and 33. I was student union advisor and grad advisor for 20 plus years, and work experience in RAP coordinator, registered apprenticeship program coordinator, which helped several students enter the trades earlier. For my efforts in athletics and other endeavors, I was awarded the 2003 Alberta School Athletic Association's Award of Merit, and later the 50th anniversary of the Alberta Retired Teachers Association Outstanding Volunteer Award. In 2018, I was awarded the Town of Calmer Volunteer of the Year. I didn't get involved in the church executive until I retired. From 2004 to 2008, I served as president. As president, we applied to the Alberta Gaming Liquor Commission for a casino license and were granted one. We also applied to the Canada Revenue Agency to be refunded 1/2 of our GST, and it was so granted. Since 2009, I have served as Secretary-Treasurer. In 2010, the Thorsby Parish, St. Peter and Paul, ceased operations. Our parish took over the operation and maintenance of their cemetery. 3 of us were granted trustee status from the consistory, myself and 2 former Thorsby members. We established the Thorsby Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund through the Calmer Parish. We had all the church contents donated to our museum, churches, schools, Camp Arvina, etc. Of the other trustees, one passed away and one is in long-term care. Since then, I have dealt with all issues, and in 1923 had the church demolished and hauled to Camp Arvina for burning, as per consistory rules. In 2024, the church lot in Thorsby was sold for $25,000, and the money put into the Perpetual Care Fund. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes my presentation. I'd like to thank the committee for nominating me, and in closing, I'd like to thank a hardworking, dedicated, and contributing parish member, Dan Wood, for putting forth the efforts to nominate me. Thank you, Dan.